The Book of Obadiah. The Book of Obadiah is the shortest book in the Old Testament, consisting of only one chapter. Despite its brevity, it carries a powerful message of divine justice and judgment. Obadiah prophesies against the nation of Edom for its betrayal and hostility toward Israel. The book teaches us about God's sovereignty, judgment, and the ultimate restoration of His people. 1 Obadiah, the prophet of judgment. Obadiah is not well known compared to other prophets, but his message is crucial. He was called to deliver God's judgment against Edom, the descendants of Esau, who were Israel's long-standing enemies. Obadiah's message reminds us that God sees the actions of nations and individuals, and no one escapes His justice. He holds everyone accountable. 2. The betrayal of Edom. The heart of Obadiah's prophecy focuses on Edom's betrayal of Israel during a time of crisis. When foreign invaders attacked Jerusalem, Edom rejoiced and took advantage of Israel's weakness. They looted, captured fleeing Israelites, and even handed them over to their enemies. This teaches us that God does not tolerate betrayal, especially from those closely related. 3. God's judgment against Edom. Obadiah's prophecy makes it clear that Edom will not escape judgment for their actions. God declares that Edom will be completely destroyed because of their violence against Israel. This teaches us that God's judgment is just and certain. The book of Obadiah emphasizes that pride, betrayal, and injustice are sins that God will punish, and no nation is exempt from His justice. 4. The Day of the Lord. Obadiah introduces the concept of the Day of the Lord, a day when God will judge all nations. It is a day of reckoning, not just for Edom but for all peoples who oppose God's will. This teaches us that God's judgment is universal and inevitable. The Day of the Lord is a reminder that everyone will face accountability before God. 5. Restoration of Israel. Despite the judgment pronounced on Edom, Obadiah's message also includes hope for Israel. After judgment, God promises to restore Israel and bring back His people to their land. This teaches us that God's justice is balanced by His mercy. The promise of restoration shows that God is always faithful to His covenant, even when His people have suffered under the hands of their enemies. 6. Pride leads to destruction. A significant theme in the book of Obadiah is the destructive power of pride. Edom is condemned for its arrogance, believing it was untouchable because of its fortified mountain strongholds. However, God reminds them that pride leads to downfall. This teaches us that pride blinds people and nations, and that humility and reliance on God are the keys to true security and peace. 7. Obadiah's message for today. The book of Obadiah remains relevant today as it emphasizes God's justice, the dangers of pride, and the certainty of divine judgment. It serves as a reminder to treat others with compassion and fairness. Obadiah teaches that betrayal, arrogance, and injustice have consequences. It also encourages us to find hope in God's promise of restoration and His faithfulness to His people. Conclusion. Though brief, the book of Obadiah offers powerful lessons about justice, pride, and God's sovereignty. Through the story of Edom's betrayal and downfall, we learn that God's judgment is certain, but His promises to His people are just as sure. The call to humility, justice, and reliance on God is timeless, reminding us of God's control over all nations and His ultimate plan for redemption. Thank you. Thank you for joining us in this journey through the book of Obadiah. We hope its message of justice, accountability, and hope for restoration has inspired you to live humbly and trust in God's sovereignty. May Obadiah's teachings encourage you to pursue righteousness and trust in God's faithfulness in all circumstances.